Hi, guys. It's an interview day today. Welcome once again. I feel like I often say the same things, but today I have the most amazing, beautiful guest. She is a dear friend of mine. We've known each other for a long time, and yet we've reconnected lately, and she is up to incredible things in this world, which is no surprise to me or anyone who knows her. This is a woman who has, ascended to Everest base camp, for instance, run marathons, run companies, written books. She is a spectacular human being by any measure of that description. And to have her on is such a privilege for me and such an honor. And it makes my heart happy. And I know you're going to love her. I just know this conversation is going to be so beautiful. Um, and we will touch at the end as to where you can find her because you will want to find her. But just very briefly, she is the founder of Equanimous NLP Training and Coaching. And we will get into NLP if it's something you haven't heard about before, because it is a spectacular and game changing tool in life. And Jennifer is brilliant at it. She's brilliant in just about every way, every way. And she also is the absolute, again, brilliant co-host of the new but very popular and successful Inside the Mind podcast with her co-host Ali May. So today I'm very happy and honored to welcome Miss Jennifer Forster, and here she is.
Oh my goodness, Shauna. First of all, I love that you pronounced my surname correctly, Forster. Many people, when they see it, they just seem to, the R disappears into the ethers and they just pronounce Foster. So I am so
Oh,
grateful that you pronounced my surname correctly. Thank you for that.
well, I have never thought of it any other way, but then, we've known each other for some time. But of course, my pleasure. So, welcome once again.
Thank you. And thank you for that really generous. Oh my gosh, I was actually inspired by that introduction. I was sitting listening, going, who is this? And it's me, of course. So thank you. I really, really appreciate being here. And I love you so much. And I love our friendship. And I
I'm so
love,
excited.
yeah, where we met, how we met, all the things.
All the things through space and time. And you know what? You just gave me the perfect segue into the first part of our conversation, because you were talking about listening to what I had to say. And then immediately you said, yeah, I am those things. And one of the things that I love about you the most is that you own what you are. Because a lot of people, I'm going to say everybody comes into this world with gifts, but they don't own them and they don't shine them out because they don't fully embody who they are and what they are and the purpose they came here to share and the gifts they came here to share. And you do that. You have it in spades. It's one of your strongest points, if I may.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. It wasn't always the case for me. Yeah, I would often, this is quite a few years ago now, but I would often, um, yeah, kind of hide my light a little bit. And I just don't do that anymore, just simply because uh, every single human being every single human being is here with something inside of them for another or many human beings. I was inspired once by a beautiful woman who actually wrote the foreword in my book. Uh, Her name is Linda Pesavento. She's an extraordinary woman. And the reason that we connected because of what I'm about to share with you, she was on stage speaking and she said, "There is someone somewhere who will only hear the truth the way you tell it." And the
Woo!
day I heard her, yeah, yeah,
Ah,
I'll say it again. That's a two-time worthy phrase for anyone. And if
say it
you're
again,
listening
yes.
and you're wondering, do I get out there and shine my light? Yes, because of these words. There is someone somewhere who will only hear the truth the way you tell it. And so the day I heard that phrase, well, I just fangirled over this extraordinary woman and, met her and we've become the closest and dearest of friends now. But it was from that moment, and it was from that moment that I really took on, yeah, it's my job, it's my responsibility.
Ah.
if I don't bring forth what is inside of me, then my time here on earth in many ways has been wasted. And
Yes.
I know my soul will return and come back, and that's great. And what inroads can I make for the soul inside my body right now that's holding, an integral piece of wisdom for this planet? What inroads can I make during this iteration of this soul? What can I leave here? What legacy can I leave here? Who can I
Hmm.
touch? Who can I move? Who can I inspire? Who can I share a story with that is going to, support them to go out into their day and make a different choice, a different decision, take a different path, take a different course of action. And I think if every and I'm not in any way suggesting that I have some special mission. Every human has a mission inside them to
Yes.
bring forward. And yeah, so if this is the only thing you take away from listening to
Yeah, we're done.
our interview today,
That's it. Like, we don't
yeah,
need to
there
say
you
anything
go.
else, although we have much to
Off,
say, but that's
yeah,
so
off you
beautiful.
go.
Every
Yeah,
word, off
off
you
you
go.
go.
Bye.
Off you
For
go.
those of
Go
you
do your thing.
listening and not watching, you just missed me just nodding and smiling and putting my hand to my heart, because every single word she's speaking is so beautiful and so true. And to take something from a possibility to a responsibility, that's a very beautiful distinction. Um, because I know that feeling. I know that journey going from, gosh, should I, could I, to, oh no, I have to. I was given whatever gifts I was given, and there's no being modest about that. That's not nothing to do with ego. It's like, what, imagine creating a creature like a bird with wings and song, and it not using it because it was like, oh no, I shouldn't. Like, what? No, you're meant to be beautiful and you're meant to shine. And that sounds so cheesy, but Jennifer, the way that you shine is like a light bulb that lights up the whole planet. And our world needs light right now. There is so much struggle and so much strife, and everybody has that. I agree. And everybody has a soul purpose that is calling them forth, but not everybody steps up into that. And it is a
Mm,
responsibility. It's like, do you want to worry about your own little life, or do you want to do what you came here for and actually be
mm,
something in this world? Be a light, be love, bring something of substance and value through whatever
mm.
gifts you were
I,
given. And you do.
yeah, yeah, I love that, Shauna, a lot because it reminds me of something that my podcast co-host Ali Mae and
I'm going to
I
put you on just
shared.
you.
I think it was at the end of our first day. It might have been when our first couple of episodes went up, and we had this moment where we were chatting on the phone, and we just became so abundantly aware, and I'm going to quote you, Shauna, because you're absolutely right in what you said. There was the possibility of that podcast coming through to us, and it did, and then it became our responsibility to bring that to planet Earth, to the people, and and take on, it has a mission. This podcast that we are producing now, we say quite openly, it's not ours.
Right.
It downloaded through us. It came
Yes.
to us quite divinely, and we are just simply, we're the container or the
Yes.
vessel that is the channel for that wisdom and that that information and that wisdom to actually come through here to planet
Yes.
Earth. So when you speak to
Beautiful.
responsibility, yeah, it is absolutely our responsibility
Right. If
to
you don't,
be
nobody
the
will.
custodian.
If
Yeah,
you
if
don't
we
use that
don't, then
unique gift that you have, it's gone. It was given
yeah,
to you in this lifetime, exactly who you are to
yeah,
do.
yeah,
Yeah, I use that word vessel a lot too. And I feel the same
mm,
way about this podcast that we're doing right now. I did nothing. I showed up. I said yes. And at first, it was a leap for me. It was like, what? I don't know anything about what podcast. So many people were saying, "Oh, you should have a podcast." And same as we were talking about before we came on the air, was just like we have these beautiful conscious conversations, and something just said you need. I mean, also people said, but this needs to get out to people. And like the name came to me, all of the imagery, the essence, all of it's the same to me. I'm looking at my screen and I'm looking at the image that I chose and the music that came to me, which was by our beautiful mutual friend George Henner. All the pieces come together. I know, I love it
Lovely.
so much. He's such an angel, and I always have his link in the podcast show notes too, because his music is divine and poignant and stunning and exquisite and beautiful and all the things. And this podcast, like yours, it's just happening through me. I know, I was going to say maybe this will sound crazy to some people, but I don't think that it will, because I think that anyone who is drawn to listen to something like this or watch something either by you or by me, they're already going to know exactly what we mean, or at least be inspired or something be ignited by that
Mm.
concept.
Oh, yeah, I 100% agree. And George is truly an extraordinary human being. His
Yes.
music is otherworldly. So let's just give a
I
little
know.
shout out to
I
George. His
know.
music
Yes,
and his genius is otherworldly. His musical
yeah.
genius is otherworldly. Mm.
Oh, divinity, like embodied and shared out via music. I've said this to him so many times, and it's probably why he we'll just digress for a moment. Why he said yes when I asked him, because over the years that I have known him, I message him now and then because I listen to his songs and I'm just like, George, I love you so much. I love your music. It touches my soul. It transports my soul, is actually, I think, the words that I used. And he's always saying, thank you, oh my God, thank you, thank you. But it's the truth. And when my mom died, I listened to his music over and over and over. And I shared that with him. And he said, the reason that it touches you so much is because I made those songs, the two particular that I like, Blossom, which I use here, and actually called Divinity is the other one that I love of his. He said, I made them for people in transition, like meaning leaving this life and going on to another adventure. That's why, whew, I'm getting shivers. His music feels so poignant and timeless and exquisite because it comes, he said to me, it's not me. I just receive it and play it out.
Mm.
Same thing.
It's like our podcast, Shauna, exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's not us.
Ah,
We are the vessels, the containers in which this divine inspiration is just channeling through. I mean, it's very much the same. And if we go back to round out this piece,
yeah.
if you have something that you feel really strongly and passionate about, and it's the last thing you think about when you go to sleep, and it's the first thing you think about when you wake up.
Do
Um,
it.
get it out there. Get it
Yeah.
out there and share it with the world because someone somewhere, yeah, needs it.
Yes, and it's coming to you for a reason. You're the vessel.
Mhm.
And you know what? I would even
You're
add
the
to that, even if it's a tiny, quiet voice that keeps calling you forth and saying, do this, come here, do this, come this way, do this. It's your gift that wants to be shared. Own it, do it. We
You
need you.
know,
We need you.
to touch on what you just said there as well, it will be a very softly spoken, quiet
Mm,
voice. It won't be your figuring out mind that
yeah,
is going to be giving it to you. It is going to come in a whisper. It is going to come in a nudge. It is going to come in a symbol or an image or a picture or something so subtle.
just like a
And
little energetic pull that, yeah,
yeah,
it won't let
and
you
that's
go.
it's right. And
Yeah.
and that's the thing to me that we follow that whenever I'm working with clients. One of my passions is the unconscious mind. I
Yes.
I could just jam on the unconscious mind for hours and hours and hours and hours. And one of my, I believe one of the greatest legacies from that I'm leaving here on this planet is helping people to get into a relationship with their unconscious mind. Most of us are walking around only tapped into our conscious minds, which is the part of us that creates our identity and interacts with the 3D world that we live in. And we are calling that us, me.
Yeah.
And in my model of the world, in the work that I do, um, that's one part of us, and it's a very important part of us. However, the other part of us, which is our unconscious mind, is the part of us most of us don't have any relationship with. So the way I see it is, um, who's driving the bus? That's
Well, I
an
was just going to say
expression
it's
by,
running the show, though. So let's dive into that. So, as I mentioned at the beginning,
yeah.
guys, Jennifer is an NLP practitioner, but she's not just a practitioner. She teaches it now. We were just talking, and I'm just going to throw this back at you momentarily, but just to set the stage, so
Mm,
to speak.
mm,
We were talking before we came on here, before I pressed record, about how willing Jennifer is. You are, Jennifer. And I think a lot of us, but let's just talk about you as you're here with us, um, to kind of put yourself under a microscope as you're taking your NLP training, as you're taking your, the different tiers of training, everything that you do. You're willing to
mm,
examine your own behaviors and your own triggers and your own patterns and beliefs and whatever shows up, however it shows up. And instead of projecting or blaming or doing all the things that, it commonly happen, you get curious, you lean in, you want to know why. And when that's another thing that I love so much about you is your intellect mixed with your heart. It's such a potent combination.
mm,
It's staggeringly beautiful. So tell us all about whatever you wish to share about NLP, and please carry on with all of it.
mm. So I'll start by just explaining what NLP is because to me, it's like the word love. NLP, it's just part of who I am.
Yes.
But for those that don't know what NLP is, NLP is an acronym for neuro mind, which is the mind or neurology, linguistic, which is language, and programming, which is how we utilize language to program our neurology to have the life we have. Another way of understanding NLP is it's a series of processes and techniques for modeling and replicating excellence in our lives. So it's truly powerful. However, the other part of the work that I do that really taps into the unconscious mind is timeline therapy. So
Oh, yeah.
timeline therapy is the only modality that I have come upon in my 56 years on this planet. It's the only modality that I have come upon that allows us to access the unconscious mind while the conscious mind is present to take up the learnings so that they can be taken back out into the world, applied, and create change. So many modal, and I love all modalities, and they all serve a purpose, I'm
Yes.
not dissing any of them. They all have a, I love a lot of the somatic stuff. It's great for shaking things loose inside of us. However, all change, all permanent change is only possible in the unconscious mind. It's only able to be activated and achieved inside the unconscious mind. So, um, yeah, and so when we do, there are a lot of modalities that work with the unconscious mind, hypnotherapy, EMDR. These are all actual spin-offs, if you want. They're all taken from NLP, and in many ways, some of them taken from timeline therapy. So, which is great,
Interesting.
which is amazing. They all are amazing. However, if we are wanting to create instant and permanent change that is really kind to the client so that they don't um,
Did you
time
say
with
kind? Kind to them?
kind, really kind to the client, yes. So Timeline therapy doesn't require the client to relive. In fact, it's completely the
Right.
opposite of that. We're not going back into any memories. We literally are extracting the learnings that are in the unconscious mind, and I'll give a little extra piece to this in a second,
Great.
so that
Please.
the conscious mind can hear them and then apply them in the everyday world that we live in, which everyone calls, in the real world, which is,
We'll
yes,
leave
how
that one
most people can understand.
for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in NLP, we work to what's called the NLP communication model. So this is how we understand how human beings, excuse me, human beings process information. So every second of every single day, we are taking in 11 million bits of information. There's 11 million bits per second of
Mhm.
information coming at us. Now, the only way in which we can take in that information is through our five senses. So that's our sight, uh, taste, sound, smell, and touch, right? The
Yep.
five
Yep.
senses. Once we take once that information comes in, we are only able to grab 134 bits of those 11 million bits of information per second. That is all the conscious mind can grab. So where does everything else go? It goes into the unconscious mind, right? And it's all just sitting there. So to give this some context for the listeners, if you've ever seen a car accident and there were five people that saw the same car accident, you'll get five different accounts of the car
Absolutely.
accident.
Yep.
That's how this works, because every single human being is grabbing their 134 bits. Now, what are their 134 bits based on? Well, they're based on, they get taken in. Sorry, we delete, distort, and generalize those bits that came in, and then we run them through our own internal filters, which is our
Yep.
memories,
Yep.
our meta programs, our conditioning, our behaviors, beliefs, how we grew up. And then that information then creates our state. And from our state, we then have our behavior. So this is happening. I've explained this in quite a bit of detail. Know that this is happening per second, every second, on the day, on the life,
Right.
right? So where is everything else? Where is all that other information? It's in our unconscious
Like this
mind.
big
So
soup of stuff that has no
exactly,
context
exactly.
to it.
So
Yeah.
so if we have a particular belief about something and we believe it so wholeheartedly, like some people, have beliefs, I'm not good enough, I'm not
Hmm.
worthy, I'm
Those
not,
are big
I can't
ones.
have I can't have the relationship I want.
Yeah.
I have to work hard for success. It's easy for everyone else, it's not easy for
Yeah.
me.
I can't have
Making,
that.
making, yeah, making money is hard. People in my family, have never had lots of money. Whatever it is,
Hmm.
like there's a million, billions of
Yeah.
beliefs
Yeah.
out there, and those beliefs get integrated over time because we go seeking evidence for those beliefs. Now, when we can access the unconscious mind and the remaining 11 million bits per second that are in there, we can actually go, like if I use the car accident example, if you consider you're living your life through the lens of just one of those perceptions, there are a multitude. If there were 10 people at the car accident, or 20 or 30, there's another 20, 30 viewpoints that you haven't actually accessed. So with timeline therapy, we get to go to the unconscious mind and extract what else was possible, what else was available to us that we didn't actually notice.
Right.
And we
It was
get,
literally
and
blind
that,
to because of our own particular lenses and reticular activation and all of those things, right?
and
It's
when yeah,
incredible.
and when it is. So it's like, it's uncovering all of our
It's like
blind spots,
opening up.
right? So,
Yeah.
and everything that we can't see. So there's a couple of key differences between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. So the conscious mind, this will help people understand this as well. The conscious mind is the thinking, doing, action taking part of us, whereas the unconscious mind is the feeling, emotional, non verbal part of us. So conscious mind is verbal, unconscious mind is non verbal. So there are some key pieces here for us to take on and understand that if we're out sort of just doing life and just operating, from the thinking side of us, which, I think many people can relate to
Oh, yeah.
overthinking and overwhelm
Absolutely.
and the busy
Yeah.
thoughts that just
Yeah.
go on and on and on. That's literally just your
Yes.
conscious mind running your life without you giving it any clear instructions. Now, then there's the unconscious mind, which has got this vault of, as I've just explained, of millions and millions and millions of pieces of information that we haven't accessed and don't even have a relationship with. So it's
Mm.
like I often describe it as if you've got an extraordinary successful company, you've got the founder of that company, that's you or
Yes.
me,
Mm-hmm.
and then you've got your COO, your chief operating officer, that's kind of your conscious mind, and you've got your CFO, your chief financial officer, that's your unconscious mind, right? So we're all
Okay.
and so if you're not actually driving the bus and giving instructions to those two key players in your
Right.
company, I'm going to say your company might be
It's not
having a
going to
little
do
bit
all
of a
that
hard
well.
time
It's going to
right
be
now.
chaos. Yeah. It's
It's going to be
so
quite chaotic.
fascinating. It's like there, I mean, I
Mm,
say often that our minds were meant to be tools and we've been letting them run the show and it's just created a
yeah,
mess, right? There's no alignment, there's no clarity. And some wording that you're bringing into my life right now in my sphere is different than how I say things, which is perfect, which I love, which is the beauty of these conversations because your wording is remind me when I hear left brain, right brain, logical, heart flowy. Like, there are some, it, it doesn't really matter how you look at it almost. It's like there's still different parts of our brain and one of them is running amok because we haven't learned how to wield it, use it, access it, and you're
yeah,
sharing that. And also, you know what comes up, and I'll shoot it back to you, but it's like no wonder. Like it's like everybody has their own kaleidoscope of perspective and informed by a bazillion, countless to infinity, tiny little decisions and tiny little notations. And, there's no possible way anybody's perspective could ever be the same. No wonder people have such a hard time understanding each other. Your work
100%.
is so
You
beautiful.
really, yeah, you really summarized it beautifully there. And just to circle back to the original question, the way I live my life these days is I literally get up every single day and I invite myself to my own cleanup party. I know that
Ooh,
I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna wake up human first, and it's my job to step into that role of CEO, founder of my company, Planet You, me, Jen, Gen Inc., as I sometimes
okay.
refer to me as. It's my job to step into that role of leading, uh, that company and take, listen, tune into my conscious mind. What does my conscious mind want me to know? And tune into my unconscious mind. What does my unconscious mind want me to know? And then give directions, right? Give
Right.
directions.
Take the
Have
reins.
Exactly. Having both of those parts of us operating simultaneously in every moment with us
Right.
is how we get to be in that state of alignment. That's what it feels like when,
Beautiful.
if you've ever experienced that sense of flow and everything just seems easy and effortless, it's probably because whether you realize it or not, your unconscious mind and conscious mind are together in the space with you, operating
Right.
simultaneously.
Right.
And I love
Everything's
how
going rowing in the same direction, so to speak.
yeah, exactly. Everything's rowing in the same direction. And you touched on something else then before, and I haven't got the exact piece, but I wanted to bring in, um, I'm talking about the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, but in many ways, it's our masculine energy and our feminine energy. Feminine energy is largely the unconscious mind to me. This is not NLP. This is just in Jen's model of the world. To me, the unconscious mind is largely our feminine energy, and the conscious mind is largely our masculine energy. And again, we're not meant to just be in one or the other. We're not meant to operate, humans are so good at wanting to separate everything,
Yes.
and we're not meant to, we're really
No.
meant to have all of those pieces coming in,
Balance and
and
weaving
work,
and
yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah, and balance and weave and work
Aligning.
together. Yeah, aligning. And who creates that? We do. But most of us as humans are walking around um, in a state of non-responsibility, and
Right.
many of us live in, we're blaming, or we're doubting, or we're criticizing, or we're
Judging,
in
projecting, all the things.
exactly,
Yes.
exactly. And all that's going on in that moment is we're just not in self-responsibility for leading our conscious mind and our unconscious mind, which to me, as I said, is as much our masculine energy and feminine energy as anything. So yeah,
Beautiful.
it's just creating that calm, aligned flow. Mm.
I love how there's so many different ways, so many different paths to the same thing. To me, that sort of alignment and centeredness and presence. It doesn't matter if you're talking about balancing the structure of masculinity with the flow of feminine, or if you're talking about, the conscious mind thinking and planning and talking to you, and the subconscious mind, having this soup of information in it, or, left brain, right brain. It almost it matters, but it almost doesn't. It's just like still coming into balance and knowing that
Mm,
it's all in you, and you need to bring all these elements into balance to have
mm,
peace and to have clarity and to have direction and not control, but choice, conscious choice
mm,
in
mm.
how you behave and
And
what you lean into.
yeah, and I was just going to say, and it comes back to that thing that I just said, who's driving the bus? And that
Yes.
is a phrase that comes from one of my dear and great mentors who's no longer on this earthly plane, Tad James. Tad James says that. He says, who's driving the bus? Mm,
But isn't it so interesting that even there's a dichotomy and there's a balance where we know that who's driving the bus needs to be us using the tool that is the mind. And in fact, you're using the tool of the mind, part of it, to control the rest of the tool that is the mind. It's all still one thing, right? And we also surrender to the fact that we aren't doing any
mm.
of this and we are the vessel. So
That's
it's like
exactly
even
right.
then
Yeah,
it's like there's still a balance that needs to happen with that
yeah,
surrender and the
yeah,
choices.
yeah, yeah,
We're both just
100%.
sitting here grinning
Yeah,
in case you're listening and not
yeah.
watching. We're just like, yeah. Because
It's exactly that.
I
It
love
is
it.
exactly that. And to me, for me, it's certainly in my journey here on this planet, what has really been a game changer for me has been the piece where I refer to getting into a relationship with your unconscious mind. And so remember I said before, our unconscious mind is where our emotions are stored as well. So to
Okay.
me, this also leans into, we've never really been taught as human beings to feel our emotions, to be with our emotions. Certainly, we've been taught to be with some of them, but not all of them.
Yep.
They are all coming from the unconscious mind. So we're getting into sort of master practitioner, master NLP pieces here. However, in the unconscious mind is our emotional center. It holds and stores all of our emotions. It also runs the body. So the unconscious mind runs the body. So if I said to you, when you went to sleep last night, you would have pulled up your little pillow and put down your head and checked, clocked off for the day and gone to sleep. And I can tell you, your conscious mind did too. Your conscious mind also tapped out for the day and went to sleep with you.
Right.
So while you were sleeping, who beat your heart? Who breathed
Right.
for you?
Exactly.
Who ran
Yes.
all of your bodily systems? That's your unconscious mind.
Right.
The
It's
unconscious
always,
mind runs the
always
body,
working.
always working.
And there's
So
so much stored in there. Oh my gosh, there's so many ways we could take this conversation. It's like I'm also
100%.
trying to just rein it in because our bodies store so much. And
Yeah.
those,
So our bodies
that's
are,
where triggers come from and all of those things too, right? Because they're in there, in
yeah,
that soup.
yeah. So I wanted to just close
Yeah,
round
yeah.
that out by just
Yes.
sharing
Sorry.
that, no, it's fine, honey. So I just wanted to, this is just another way in which we can be in a relationship and get into practice being in relationship with our unconscious mind. So I said before, the unconscious mind is non-verbal. So it communicates with us through our emotions and through our body. So if you're, anytime you feel anything in your body, if you are paying attention and tuned in to having a relationship with your unconscious mind, you can actually ask, what is it? Hi, I speak to my unconscious mind all the time. I'll say, hi, unconscious mind, what is it that you're wanting me to see here? What is it that you're
Right.
trying to show me? What is it that I'm not yet getting clear on? Because the one of the first places that we'll hear from our unconscious mind is through our emotions, through our body. Pain, pain that is that, anyone that's been carrying pain for longer than 6 to 8 weeks, is likely the unconscious mind trying to communicate something to you.
Right. This is so
Mm.
beautiful because
Cool.
yet again, there are different paths to the same. I don't, this is what's really coming up in this conversation for me is listening to you and thinking about if people don't want to feel their feelings quite yet. It's too intense. Well, then they can listen to their bodies, right? Or if they're not accustomed to feeling what's like actually listening and seeing the symptoms that their bodies are showing them, maybe they can look at the feelings as the messengers, but it's all part of the same wise, brilliant, self-healing
Yeah.
intelligent system that's trying to
Yeah.
speak to us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this
Yep.
beautiful flow because we're also creating it with our consciousness, right? So it's like this beautiful um it's like infinity. It's just a flow. It's just like a torus. It's in and out, and
Yep.
I just love listening to what you're saying because
Yeah.
it's an access point or a gateway to healing, right? To listening to what's
Mm-hmm.
being shown to you by your own
Mm-hmm.
beautiful system.
Yeah, and it's to me, it's how we live an empowered,
Ooh,
joyful life. When we can be with the understanding that, we are not the thoughts of our mind, we are the ones that hear them. And that's Michael Singer,
mm,
the untethered soul, who said that. And yeah, when we can be in the application of that, everything changes. I've worked with clients who literally say to me, Jen, this feels like magic. This feels so easy, it feels like magic. And in many ways it is when we are in relationship with both our conscious mind and our unconscious mind, and we're giving clear instructions to both. We are paying attention and listening to both. They both serve a purpose. They both have a
ooh,
function to play. And when we are in that beautiful union with each of them, then it, we become a vibrational match for anything and everything that we want on this planet. We're not, when we're
right.
in fear, when we're fearful of something, or we're, you know, um, feeling doubtful or blamey or whatever, we're in many ways rejecting vibrationally something that may be trying to come to us as well. So,
Yes. So it's like clearing the
this,
system, like you said, cleaning up in the morning. I love that. You're saying so many things that I want to touch on, and I'm trying to remember them. As you said, circle back or come back to them. One, gosh, I'm losing them. So let me just go with the one that's showing up. Tell me about the instructions. You're saying
the
give it
instruction.
instructions.
Yeah, so giving instructions. So to me, this is how it works for me. I take, uh, and I'll use this as a metaphor, Shauna, because this is a really, to me, an easy way to understand what happens. So
Great.
there's me. If I was driving a car, right? If I was driving along the road, driving a car, and I didn't have any map or any GPS coordinates or any idea of where I was going, then that could be a really long, arduous journey, right? And then I'm never even truly going to know if I've arrived where I'm meant to. So the unconscious mind is the holder of all of that information. But as I said, it's non-verbal. So we have to, as the ones driving the car, we have to be the ones that get the coordinates, the GPS coordinates, the where are we going. We get that information from our unconscious mind. So every morning I tune in and I ask my unconscious mind, what does she desire? What does she want today? What is it that she would like me to focus on? Uh, you know, I literally get my instructions from her every morning. And then my conscious mind's job is to be the car, right? Be the action taking pedal to the metal. Now let's
Right.
go for it.
Because it came from your
But
inner
most of us,
self.
exactly. But many of us are running around like chooks with our heads cut off, taking action and wondering why it feels icky or it feels like hard work or it feels like, is this really how my life was
Just
supposed
doing
to
the
be?
wrong
Because
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
because we didn't actually get the coordinates from our unconscious mind. We didn't get the GPS points. We didn't get the goddamn destination. Where are we heading? Right? Where are we heading? So no wonder many of us get to a point in our life, and if you're listening to this and you're kind of at that throw your hands in the air, I'm exhausted and I feel like what the heck have I,
Right. What have I been
what
doing?
is the
And
point? What have I been
yeah,
doing, right? It's probably because your conscious mind has just been working its little butt off. We just didn't
running
get the
around. Yeah.
coordinates. We didn't tune in
Wow.
and go, wait, where are we going again? So when we can get these
Right.
two parts of us working together, but as I said, the conscious mind can't access the unconscious mind. That's our job, right? That's our job to tune in to the unconscious mind, get in relationship with the unconscious mind, and then give that information to our conscious mind so our little conscious mind can do what it does best, and that is take action.
Obey. Yeah. Do what we tell it.
It loves to do.
I
The
thought
conscious
you were,
mind loves doing.
yeah, it actually does. Give me a job to do, right? It's like,
Yeah,
why
but
it'll always answer the question that you ask. Why am I so unworthy? Why does bad stuff always happen to
uh-huh.
me? Or how can this be fun? How can this be even better? It will always take the task you give it, right? Um,
But
and I
let's
was, go
let's
ahead.
get the right coordinates. Let's give the
Right. The
right
right task
information to the
that
conscious
serves us.
mind. The right task that serves us to take us to to the divine. Yeah, our people talk about our what I don't know what my purpose is.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like your conscious mind asking that question. If you
Right.
really want to know what your purpose
Figure
is,
outer. Yeah. I
yeah,
thought you
tune
were
into the
saying you're giving your subconscious instructions. And I know, for instance, we've all read Think and Grow Rich, where he's talking about repetition, repetition into your subconscious is then when, willpower doesn't work, right? You have to
mm, mm.
think a
Yeah. So
thought
what
for
I'm
so
saying,
long, but you're saying something that's a little opposite of that. And I actually,
yeah.
it sounds the opposite, but I don't think it is.
So first of all, in NLP, where I'm the work that I subscribe to,
Yeah.
we don't use we don't use the term subconscious. We use the term
Unconscious.
unconscious,
Okay.
and the reason for that is simply because sub implies under, and we don't subscribe to the belief that the unconscious mind is under anything.
Okay.
It's equal to. So we say unconscious mind. It's interchangeably the
Okay.
same thing.
No, it's a
Just from
distinction I want people to hear if this is important
yeah,
in
yeah.
in
So it's
understanding. Yeah.
yeah. And so what I'm saying is that when I say give instructions, work with, I don't mean that we tell our unconscious mind what to do, but we do need to be in a relationship with our unconscious mind in that where we are extracting and listening to and tuning in to what the unconscious mind wants to share with us. So
Right.
again, in my model of the world, the unconscious mind is the direct channel to the higher self. This is not NLP. This is this is going on to
Divinity,
some worldly wisdom now. So
connecting
the
in. Yeah.
so the conscious mind can't access the unconscious mind. Only we can do that. However, the unconscious mind is the direct channel to higher self. So if you imagine, if your unconscious mind is messy, gunky, filled with limiting beliefs, limiting decisions, and negative emotions and repressed memories
Just a
that have got
mess.
negative emotions. It's a mess, right? So it's going to make it very difficult for us to actually tune in and
Yes.
hear our higher self. So
Hmm.
the work that I do is to help people it's twofold: clean up your unconscious mind,
Hmm.
get in a relationship with it so you can hear it
Hmm.
and hear the information that it has for you, transfer that information to your conscious mind, which is the action taker. And the cleaner that channel is the cleaner your unconscious mind is, cleaner, clearer, and more congruent the
Yes.
unconscious mind is, the more you're going to be able to receive and be receptive to that wisdom from higher self. Yeah, the veil will start to
Yeah.
feel very bloody
Yeah.
thin. Yeah,
Exactly. I think that's actually what I was saying was what you're saying is you're rather that was the point I was making was rather than giving instructions to your unconscious mind, which we've read in books like Think and Grow Rich, you're saying, no, this is where the wisdom is. I'm receiving
yeah,
from, but I can't when it's a
yeah,
soup and it's a mess and it's got all this input in it, just we can't even conceive of how much input there is and what's in there. But when you go in and you clear it up, then it's clear, clean frequency and it's access to the collective, the quantum,
yes,
oneness,
ma'am.
whatever it is. And I have that experience too. But for me, it feels like it's coming from the heart. That's where the truth is. Um, which is why this podcast is called Leading with Love. But I honestly
Mm.
believe, I know that we're talking about the same thing. We're talking
Yeah,
about the
to
same
me,
thing,
in many
accessing
ways,
that
it's
presence and downloads
yeah,
and knowledge and clarity and what your higher self wants to share with you. You can't
yeah,
hear it unless it's clear. And you have these
yeah,
beautiful psychological, intellectual tools, which you are very clear on. So that's how you wield them, that's how you use them and help people get their own clarity. I can see it. It's beautiful.
mhm. Yeah. They help me, and it's interesting when I wrote my book. If and I know you have my book, so when you read my book, I was utilizing the tools and skills of NLP un unconsciously. The only thing I would change if I did a revision of my book would be to change the word subconscious, which I use in my book,
Oh,
to the
wow.
word unconscious.
See, we all grow.
So
Yeah.
so I wrote the book largely like it was intuitive, right? And the book is about my life lessons. It's about how I, unraveled some really big, stuff in my relationships, business, and life, and how I my life lessons, and how did I resolve some of those challenges.
Yeah.
And then when I came upon the body of work of NLP and timeline therapy, literally on day one,
Woo.
I'm like, what the flippin' heck, there's science to this, there's
Wow,
neurological
Jen.
studies
It's
to
like it
this.
came to you
This
and you
is
came to it and you were like, oh, obviously. Obviously, this
and
is a yes.
I
You had
was
already, it's perfect for you. You're
yeah,
perfect for it. Oh, no wonder you're
mm,
just
yeah.
skyrocketing with everything that you're doing.
Yeah. And so I was really divinely guided, I
Yeah,
had a relationship with my unconscious mind at that point. I used to just call it her, I used to refer to it as
I
her,
remember.
and yeah, you do
I
remember.
do.
And I didn't know what it was. However, I knew the difference between her and my conscious mind, my doer. I used to call it my doer.
Woo.
And
Yeah.
so the day that I was invited to do my practitioner training, NLP and timeline therapy practitioner training, it was a year away, and I just said yes on the spot.
Woo.
I just knew
I
it.
love that.
Something in my body just knew that I had to be in that training room, and so I waited a
Oh,
year. I went into my training. Ali was my trainer, which is just to give the connection
yes.
as to how we've
Yeah.
come together and created the podcast. And on day one of my practitioner training, which is the foundational level one, I've done all the trainings now. I made this big declaration on day one and said, I am going to become a trainer of this work. I am going to accredit other people to become practitioners of this work. I want every single household to have NLP in their house, like houses have first aid kits for the body. I
Wow.
want every house on this planet to have NLP as a first aid kit for the mind, so we can be
Wow. First aid
treating
kit for the
the
mind. Beautiful.
yeah, so we can be
Ah.
treat those paper cuts while they're still paper cuts, whether they're in the body or in the mind. NLP is a first aid kit for the mind.
Yes.
So
Beautiful.
yeah, I went on on the same day, you can listen to this on the first episode of our podcast. Actually, after making that big bold declaration of becoming a trainer, I then had one of my biggest breakdowns and breakthroughs ever. It was
Perfect.
just epic.
Yep.
Yeah, of course it was
Because you
perfect.
were you were crossing a threshold of something that was big for you,
Uh-huh.
right? Of
Uh-huh.
course.
Yeah,
So
and
all the
like the
resistance
old,
came up and
yep,
limiting beliefs,
the
which is
old version.
perfect for NLP.
Yeah, yeah. And the old version of me, she couldn't, I love her and she's always with me and she couldn't come to where we were going. I
Yeah.
think of all the iterations of myself like um
Hmm.
the concentric rings on a tree, for a tree to grow and Shauna, you know
That's
how much I love
beautiful.
those giant redwoods in California.
Yes.
They just Oh, they speak to me. However, those trees didn't get to be, full of wisdom and as big and, bold and, and stoic and forthright as they are without every single concentric ring. If you cut a tree open, you can see those concentric rings that, every one,
Absolutely. They're outgrowing
precedes
themselves.
another, precedes another, precedes another. I see all the iterations of me, all the different versions of me, all the identities of me,
Beautiful.
they're all still with me. They're just, they're now encased in another eccentric ring, another
Woo!
version of me. So
Expanded.
I,
You're
yeah,
outgrowing yourself
yeah.
again and again
So,
and again and
so
again.
yeah, so I went on from there and did my master practitioner training and then my trainer's training, which is, like
Yeah.
a month of intense training.
I
It's
know
a
you
truly
worked your butt
one of the
off.
most robust, yeah, one of the most robust trainings I've ever undertaken was to become a trainer
I bet.
of this work. So
Yes.
yeah, I get to run, I get to run global accreditations for anyone who would like to become a practitioner of this work themselves or who would like to bring NLP or timeline therapy into their current coaching model or their
Right.
current business.
Got it.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah, so supporting more people to support more people. Yeah.
Well, exactly. And the way that you learn is experientially, right? As we touched on
Yeah,
before, you use yourself as a
yeah,
guinea pig. And what you just shared was
I
the
do.
perfect example of that because you're detached from the information that's being shown to you. And you love yourself enough to honor it and see it and look at it. It's just a really beautiful skill set and openness and surrender all of the things that come into play for you to so dive deeply into that NLP and you smacked into it and it smacked into you because you were meant for it and it was meant for you. And then the woman that was teaching you is now your podcast
Yes,
co-host.
yes,
There were so many
yes,
synchronicities there, but had you not been who you are, had you not been so willing to lean in, to dive in, to look at your own stuff, none of this could have happened.
at all.
Like you aren't just teaching something, you are the embodiment of it because you did it first to yourself,
Yes.
on yourself, over and over and over and over, like you're the petri dish and you're the scientist, which is kind of how life works anyway, right? We're all of it. It's
Yes,
like
ma'am. That is 100%. That is exactly how I see myself every single day. I get up and I slice off a little piece of myself and I put it on a glass slide and I slide it under a microscope and I get my little mad sciencey white coat and put it on and then stare down that microscope and really, yeah, I just observe myself and with a curious heart. I don't ever I never look at anything that I do, think, say from a place of judgment. I'm just so
right.
ridiculously curious about what I think, how I think,
Yes,
and
it's
in such a, yeah,
fascinating. And who
yeah,
else could we
and
do this experiment on but ourselves? We're the ones thinking the thoughts
yeah,
and feeling the feelings. So we're the guinea pigs. Of course we are. But
yeah,
most people don't see
yeah.
themselves that way because they get upset at their own feelings or they resist them or they project or blame or like when you actually just allow, it's
Mm. And
fascinating. We're
NLP
fascinating creatures.
and NLP is exactly that. NLP is not at all interested in why we do what we do.
Ah.
NLP is the study of how we do what
Mm.
we do. And that is a whole different ball
Which
game.
you
That's how
love,
we
your
get
brain
that.
loves,
I
right?
love
Yeah,
it.
I
I
can
love
see it in your
unraveling.
face. And that's why you were
Yeah,
saying, I assume, that
unraveling.
you're not going into people's traumas and past. Like when you're talking about timeline therapy, that's not what you're saying. Oh, we're going to go over and figure out why, your heart hurts because the abandonment and all of those things. It's like, okay, this is happening. This is running in your life. Let's figure it. It's a why, but it's a different kind of why. It's like you said, it's a
Well,
how.
it's a how. So if we take heartbreak, for example,
Yes.
why is my heart broken is a very different question and a very different inquiry to how am I doing heartbreak in my life?
Can you speak to that more? I know a lot of people who
Hmm.
are going through some heartbreak right now that this would be helpful for. I mean, as
So,
general or specific as you're willing.
yeah, so to help us to um, really create some change for us, I'll start with the why is my, why is my heart broken? Why am I heartbroken? When we're looking, or, why did my heart break? Why did he leave me? Why
So
did
and
she
so did
leave me?
this.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we start to try and, when we go down that lens, we're just going to it's like a never ending tunnel because you're very unlikely to find, let's just say you find your reason
Right.
why,
This
right?
is it. This
And
is why.
this is
Yeah.
it. Yay, I found the reason why. I can
Doesn't make
assure
you feel
you
any better.
it's not going to make you feel any better. And you are probably likely to become, it'll just reticulate and you'll look for another why, right? Well, why, now that I found that why, what about this? Why did this happen? So with NLP, we're looking, we look at everything is about self-responsibility in NLP. So we're not looking at what's going on outside of us. Why has us go and look outside of ourselves? How am
Yes.
I doing heartbreak in my life? That is a lens of self-responsibility and how invites us to look at our behaviors. How am I doing? If I said to someone, I'll be the person with the heartbreak. So I've
I can be the
got a
person with
broken
the
heart
heartbreak. I went through
and
heartbreak. I've been through heartbreak.
okay,
Whatever.
so let me ask you this, just as a quick example.
Okay.
So if I said to you, and just let everyone's unconscious minds know, and yours too, Shauna, that this is an example. You do not have a broken heart right now. You're not experiencing heartbreak in this moment. So we just want to not install anything in anyone as
Right.
we
Correct.
dive
Yes.
into
This is
this.
just a
So this is just an
tester.
example, a
Hmm.
hypothetical. So if I said to you hypothetically, how are you doing heartbreak in your life today? And just
Well, so
start
I'm
with
not,
what
but if
happens
I
when
was, how am
if
I
you
doing
were,
it?
yeah, yeah.
How am
How
I
would you be
doing it?
doing?
Would have
So what's the
would have
first thing you do
been
when you wake up?
I have to actually think about that because I'm not feeling it, but let's say I
Right,
am.
exactly.
Be like I well cuz I yeah. I would be lamenting about this person having let me down. I gave too much of myself. Um it's hard. It's an intellectual thing, but do you mean like how does it feel or what am I telling myself or
Well, what I'm really loving right now is what I'm really loving is you're illustrating so beautifully why it's very difficult for us to look at the how, because the how requires us to look from inside of ourselves and not outside of
right?
ourselves,
What
and
am
it will
I
stand and
doing?
it
What am I
stands.
bringing to this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and it can
I'm
be a
blaming
really
somebody. I'm Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if you think about heartbreak being the problem and I'll give you this as an example. So if we put heartbreak in a room, right? Just put it in just a room. It's just a white room. There's nothing else inside this
Okay.
white room besides
All right.
the heartbreak. And if I said, okay, so have a look inside this room and I want you to just tell me what you can see. And you're probably going to say, well, I can see the heartbreak. And I'm going to say, cool. And then I'm going to say, what is not the heartbreak in this room?
Well, you said it's the only thing in the room. The white, the light,
And
my
the white,
viewing it. So the
yep,
consciousness,
yep. What else is,
the
what else is, what else
the
could that,
heart.
yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Can you see, this is a really tiny, we're limited for time here, but when we focus on it's just, here's the heartbreak, what's not the heartbreak? What is here with me right now that's not the heartbreak?
Well, you asked me to focus on the heartbreak. I am.
Sorry,
I don't know what answer you're after, so I'm
no,
loving
no,
it, but
and
I
I'm not after any answer.
oh,
All I'm after is how the brain scrambles to try and figure out, wait, is there
okay.
anything here besides heartbreak? Is there only heartbreak in this space?
Well,
It's
because
largely what we're
again, it
focusing.
answers whatever question you task it with. So there was my demonstration, our brain going like, I don't know, am I getting this right? Am I answering? Yeah,
There
because
we
that's
go.
yeah.
There we go. Yeah. And that's so when we look at the how, we want to look at the behaviors. We want to look at
Okay,
what precipitates everything that we do. So every single thing that human beings do has a strategy, even heartbreak. Strategy, is often associated with the corporate world, but every single thing that every human being does has a strategy, including heartbreak,
absolutely.
including I'm always broke, including I
Definitely.
can't have the relationship I want. They all have strategies and they all come from behaviors that we are playing out, which is the how we're doing it. And when we can start to look at the how versus the why, we can then, usually the first thing we'll find is a bunch of limiting beliefs or programming or conditioning or negative emotions that are attached to memories that has us play things out unconsciously again and again and again.
Right. You're running in loops
Yeah,
and loops and loops. You're never going to win and it's never going to stop. It tells you that's the thing with the ego or with the mind. It tells you that once it figures it out, then you'll be fine. But it's actually not true, right? It's just knots and
that's right.
knots of thoughts. And you're changing the behavior, which changes
Yeah,
everything, right?
yeah.
If I
So it was
may.
a beautiful. So thank you for playing along. It illustrated it beautifully.
I
Yeah,
didn't do very well,
it
but
was a
that's
beautiful.
okay.
No, no, well, that's the whole thing. So conscious mind says I didn't do that very well. Why? Because
Yeah.
conscious mind needs to know.
Right.
Unconscious mind says you did that very,
It's
very well
fine.
because you were like, okay, this is interesting here. I'm not sure what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
What else could this be? It's just a different, we're looking down a different lens. We're
Right.
opening up the possibility of what else could this be. Why is just a downward spiral into
Yeah.
nothingness that will loop on itself again and again and again and
Yes. And
again.
we've been taught that why is
How?
such a powerful question. It
And it
drives
can be
us.
in certain,
It
yeah,
can
and it
be.
can be it can be a powerful question, not when we're looking to create change in our behaviors. I
Beautiful.
don't believe it's powerful in that realm at all.
And I love that timeline therapy, the way you've described it, is also such a beautiful way of expanding and opening up and changing perspective. Everything you're
Yeah,
doing, again, I will say, and I can't believe it's already over an hour. See,
I
that's what
know, right?
happens. It's
Go through
again with that your gorgeous intellect and curiosity combined with your heart and your spirit is. I will bookend this conversation by saying it's such a potent combination. It's so beautiful, and I think with your authenticity too, and willingness to just, I mean, everything you try, you don't try, you just do it, you go for it with gusto and everything you've got, and it's so inspiring and powerful and beautiful, and I'm always in awe of you.
Thank you, beautiful woman. I love our conversations, and I could, yes, I've given. a lot of content today in a very, very, very short space of time. I've attempted to give a lot in a short space of time. So if anybody, yeah, if
Yeah,
anybody's
let's tell
curious
people where
or
they
has
can find
something,
you.
yeah, or if someone's a little stumped on something I've said, yeah, please
Yeah.
reach out. I'm an open book. I'm very accessible, and I'm always happy to have a conversation about the unconscious mind and
Pulling
NLP.
up your name there, Jennifer Forster, and I will put your, socials and website and everything in the show notes for ever
Thank you.
anyone who's listening and watching. And if and as that evolves, I can always update the show notes. And I feel
Mm.
like that we just barely touched the surface of everything.
Oh my gosh,
Speaking of,
we barely did. We
but
barely scratched the surface. And if anyone out there wants to even just jam on the unconscious mind and just have a conversation, yeah, reach out. It's my favorite topic.
I love it. I mean, yeah, it's fascinating. I love knowing how the mind works and how what's really going on, And then when we start talking about, again, we only just scratched the surface. When we start talking about, like, we talked about probably 20 things that could have been our conversations, at least.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Oh,
but
100%, Shauna. There were 20 absolute nuggets in there that could have each been a podcast
yes,
episode on their own. So
exactly.
it was a beautiful overview.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful overview, perfect umbrella overview, perfect way to put it. And so, yes, for everyone watching and listening, thank you, because I know it was a very intense one informationally, and I also know that you and I, Jennifer, energetically are just kind of beaming things at people, and they will receive what they're ready to receive and come to you
Yeah,
for whatever they may want more of. And
yeah,
as you're listening or watching, you'll be leaning in, or you'll be like, nope, this isn't for me. And maybe it's just a seed that's planted. So many
yeah.
metaphors,
I
but
remember the
really,
I remember the first time I read, gosh, it was about 15 years ago now. The first time I picked up Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, I read for about a year. I just read the first paragraph every night before when I got into bed, and I literally was like, Mr. Tolle, I have no idea what the flippin' heck you're banging on about in this
yeah.
book. And it was at least 10 years later before I was able to really go, oh,
Uh-huh.
that's what you're talking about, Mr. Tolle.
Yes.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
we've
yeah,
barely talked about what it's like when you do access that information. It's wild when it's some people call it intuition, it's unconscious, whatever it is. There's power there, and there's clarity and guidance and your purpose. Like you said, if you're wondering, I guarantee you it's in there. You just got to get clear.
mm,
And ladies and gentlemen, and all beings, Jennifer can help you with that. So I'm just thank you. Thank you for being here and being so fully here with us, with me.
my pleasure. My pleasure. It is my absolute pleasure to bring this conversation to the world. And I flippin' adore you, Shauna. And if there is anybody to be leading a podcast talking about anything to do with love, you are. I totally know why the universe downloaded that mission to you because you are love on legs, beautiful woman, and I adore you.
Ah,
And I'm so,
love on
and
legs.
I'm so love on legs. You can put that on a t-shirt. And I'm just so grateful that our paths crossed. I'm so grateful that we got to hug in real
Yes.
life in a cinema
Mm-hmm.
back in
19
2019 or
maybe? Oh
18?
my gosh,
19, I think
18?
it was November, no, 19,
And we
November
waited a long
2019.
time for that too. So beautiful.
We
I
did.
love you.
We
I
did.
honor you. Thank you. We will, I mean, let's just leave it there because it's a beautiful wrap up, but I'm just going to run the outro and I'll talk to you in a sec, but wow. Stunning. Thank you. Thank you for all you are. All right.
I love you.
Oh, I love you too. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you enjoyed this episode and it helped you open your heart, feel inspired, and know that we are all connected. Please subscribe and share so this work can touch more people. This is how we co create the world we want to live in. Thank you so much again for joining us, and talk to you next time.